We are all in this together. There's no place we can run to and hide. It is perfectly clear that the time it is here when we all must stand up to survive.
Now, if you ask 10 conservatives this question, why are you a conservative? You'll probably get 10 slight variations on what I call the 4 pillars of conservatism. They'll say, I'm a conservative because I believe in small government, low taxes, strong defense, and traditional values. They all believe it, and they all know it. If you ask 10 progressives the same question, why are you a progressive? And I know because I've done this, you're going to get 10 different answers. So my question to you is, what's your answer? What are the fundamental values that provide the basis for what you believe about politics? Now, you may have a different answer than I do, but my answer is, I'm a progressive because I believe we're all in it together. That's why I want to end poverty, even though I'm not poor. That's why I want a strong labor movement, even though at the nonprofit where I work, I'm considered management. That's why I want everyone in America to have health care, even though I have health insurance. That's why when I see soldiers leaving their families to go back for their 3rd and 4th tours in Iraq, my heart aches, even though no one in my immediate family is in the military. But being a progressive isn't just about altruism and caring for other people. It's also about acknowledging that our own fates and those of our neighbors are inextricably tied together. I want the kid down the street to have educational opportunity, not just because it's good for him, and not just because it's right, but also because that way he's a lot less likely to steal my car. I want everyone to have health care, not just because it's right, but because I end up paying more in premiums for this bizarrely inefficient healthcare system that we have. The solutions that benefit all of us are almost always the solutions that are best for each of us. And we all benefit when we live in a just society. A just society like the one that we as progressives want to create, it nurtures our own morality and it enhances all of our lives. Progressivism is right and progressivism works. Now, one of the other important things about saying that as progressives, we're all in it together, is that it explains to people not just who we are, but who the other side is too. And this is something that conservatives have done very, very well, defining who it is that they want people to believe we are. If you go into a bookstore and go to the political section, what you'll find is a whole bunch of books written by conservatives that have as their subtitle something like, Why Liberals Are Destroying America. We don't tend to write books about why conservatives are destroying America. So saying that we're all in it together tells you and tells everyone something about what we believe, and it also tells them what we want them to think about conservatives. Conservatives don't think that we're all in it together. They think we're all on our own and we're all out for ourselves. Which brings me then to a key point that progressive activists like yourselves have to understand. Your adversary is not just the things you want to change. It's not just the problems that you see. It's not just those practical goals that you have. Your adversary is a competing ideological system. Conservatism is your adversary. Conservatism is the reason that we're the only industrialized country in the world without a single-payer healthcare system, and 47 million Americans have no health insurance. Conservatism is the reason that thousands of Americans were abandoned in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. Conservatism is the reason that gay and lesbian Americans continue to live as second-class citizens. Conservatism is the reason that the minimum wage is still $5.15 an hour, while the richest among us gobble up a greater and greater share of our national wealth with each passing year. Conservatism is the reason for the military, financial, diplomatic, and moral abomination that is the war in Iraq. Conservatism is the reason that in the richest nation in the history of planet Earth, we can't seem to come up with a system where we all get to vote and we all know that our votes will be counted. It's conservatism that is the problem, and conservatism that must be defeated. Now, progressives have an opportunity today, and it might be the greatest one that we've seen in our lifetimes. It was brought to us courtesy of George W. Bush. His administration has been such an epic catastrophe in so many different ways that we can take this message everywhere. Conservatism has failed. And that failure didn't happen because the administration and its supporters are incompetent or foolish or deluded. They are all those things. They failed because their ideology was rotten at its core. It is critical for us to understand and to point out that the conservatives who sent George W. Bush to office got nearly everything that they wanted. They got enormous tax cuts for the wealthy. They got a huge increase in defense spending. Right now, the United States of America spends more on its military than the rest of the world combined. Conservatives got the social agenda they wanted. They got a tax on gay marriage. They got abstinence education. They got conservative judges. They got Terry Schiavo. They got an assault on our environment with lax enforcement and the selling off of public lands. They got an attack on workplace protections and labor unions. They got an assault on the very idea of rationality as the driving force behind policy decisions. In other words, they got just what they wanted and what they had been asking for years. And what was the result? Failure. Complete, abject failure. Now, because of that failure, some on the right are now saying, oh, well, George W. Bush is not really a conservative. Don't let them get away with that. His failure and their failure happened because of conservatism. And this is what we have to keep telling our fellow citizens. Conservatism is the problem. Conservatism is incapable of bringing prosperity to more than a few at the top. Conservatism is incapable of solving our healthcare crisis. Conservatism is incapable of ending poverty or creating a just workplace. Conservatism is incapable of driving a foreign policy that unites our friends and divides our enemies instead of the other way around. Conservatism is incapable of creating a future that is better than the present. And so it is conservatism that must be stopped. Which brings me to a piece of good news. The truth is that Americans are now ready to hear this message.
We are all in this together. We have come to the moment of truth. We can open our eyes, we can do what is right. It is all up to me and you. We are all